Ladies and gentlemen, you were not born to tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death. You were born with fire, vision, potential, a calling to do more than just survive. But let me tell you something most people won't. Comfort is a liar. It whispers sweet nothings while robbing you of your greatness. If you want to become unstoppable, if you want to build a life that's extraordinary, you have to do what is hard. Because doing what's easy is the path to regret. Doing what's comfortable is the fast lane to mediocrity. And doing what is hard, that's the road to power, to freedom, to the kind of life that lights you up every single day. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that scared you, that stretched you, that demanded more than you thought you had? Because that's where growth lives. That's where you meet the version of yourself you haven't even met yet, the warrior inside, the one who refuses to back down, refuses to quit, refuses to settle. Listen to me. Pain is not your enemy. Discomfort is not something to avoid. They are signals. They're showing you the direction of your next breakthrough. If it's hard, it probably means you're on the right track. Let me break it down for you. You want discipline? Do what's hard when no one's watching. You want confidence? Show up even when you're scared. You want freedom? Earn it by pushing through the resistance. You think confidence is built through comfort? No. Confidence is built when you keep your word to yourself, when you conquer the morning you didn't want to face, when you take the cold shower, make the tough call, have the uncomfortable conversation. That is how we build the muscle of a relentless life. So hear me. Every time you do what's hard, you cast a vote for the kind of person who doesn't quit. Every time you lean into the fire instead of away from it. You're building an identity. I am the kind of person who does what it takes, not when it's convenient, not when it's easy, not when I feel like it. Every single time. Because let's be real, if you only do what's easy, your life will be hard. But if you consistently do what's hard, your life will become you'll move faster, you'll bounce back quicker, and one day people will look at you and say, how do they keep going? How do they keep winning? And the answer is simple. You trained for it. You chose the hard path. You built yourself into someone unstoppable. So here's your call today. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to feel ready. Take the step, do the thing, lean into the resistance, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because if you want to rise, if you want to break the chains, if you want to become a force that nothing can hold back, then you better get used to doing what is hard again and again and again, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you don't just survive hard things anymore. You were built for them. And that's when you become unstoppable. Let's go. Comfort is a liar. It seduces us with softness, with routine, with predictability. It offers the illusion of safety while quietly stealing our potential. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort like it's the ultimate reward, never realizing that comfort zones are cages. You may not feel the bars, but they're there. Built from every excuse, every delay, every time you said, I'll start tomorrow. And as those invisible bars close in, you begin to shrink. Your dreams shrink. Your courage shrinks. Your belief in yourself fades. It's not that people lack potential. It's that they settle. They settle because the unknown is uncomfortable. The truth is, most of us have been trained from a young age to avoid discomfort at all costs. Don't fail, don't fall, don't stand out, don't get hurt. Play it safe, stay in line, be realistic. But that voice, the one urging you to play small, doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares about survival. And survival is not the same as living. When you avoid discomfort, you also avoid transformation. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth lives in discomfort. It lives in the reps you don't want to do, the alarm clock you don't want to answer, the feedback you don't want to hear, the risk you don't want to take. Discomfort is the soil where your next level is planted. It is the raw material of change. Everything worthwhile is on the other side of discomfort. You want more confidence? Get uncomfortable. You want mastery in your craft? Get uncomfortable. You want to change your body, your income, your relationships? Get uncomfortable. People want the results, but they don't want the resistance that forges them. They want the crown without carrying the weight. But it doesn't work that way. Discomfort is the price you pay for strength. Just like a muscle grows by tearing and rebuilding, your mindset, your habits, your identity, they grow through resistance. Every time you embrace what's comfortable, you expand your capacity. You increase your emotional resilience. You sharpen your focus. You become more of who you were built to be. People think the goal is to feel good all the time. But if you feel good all the time, it means you're not growing. You're coasting. You're repeating yesterday. And yesterday's habits can't carry tomorrow's vision. You have to lean into the discomfort and rewire your response. Because it's not just what you do that matters, it's what you do when it's hard. That's where the power is. Most people see discomfort as a warning sign, something to back away from. But high performers, leaders, warriors, they see discomfort as a green light, as a compass. They know that if it's hard, if it makes your stomach tighten, if it makes your heart race, it probably matters. They don't wait until they feel ready. They move through the discomfort because they know that's where the fire is. That's where the growth lives. Discomfort is a test. It's life asking, how bad do you want it? It's the door to the next level, but it only opens to those willing to lean in. If you keep running from it, you'll stay stuck in the same patterns, repeating the same excuses, watching others rise while you stand still. But if you turn toward it, face it, choose it, again and again, you start to transform. People say they want to level up. They want to unlock their potential. But when discomfort knocks, they retreat. They go back to scrolling, sleeping in, putting it off, not because they can't handle it, but because they've been conditioned to fear it. They don't realize that discomfort is a sign they're in the arena, that they're not hiding anymore, that they're finally playing for something real. You cannot avoid discomfort and expect to live a powerful life. You cannot seek ease and expect excellence. The path to anything great runs straight through discomfort. And here's the truth. Discomfort doesn't mean something's wrong. It means something's working. It means you're waking up. It means you're evolving. Every time you choose discomfort over convenience, you make a statement. I am not here to settle. I am not here to coast. I am here to become. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And the raw material for building it isn't talent. It isn't luck. And it definitely isn't approval from other people. The foundation of true, unshakable confidence is simple. It comes from doing what's hard consistently, especially when no one's clapping, especially when no one's watching. Every hard choice you make, every difficult action you take, every time you show up when it would be easier to quit, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Most people think confidence comes after they achieve something. They think, once I succeed, I'll feel confident, but it doesn't work that way. Confidence isn't a reward you get after you've won. It's the force that helps you keep showing up before you've won. It's the byproduct of effort, of persistence, of staying in, the fight when everything in you wants to walk away. And you can't fake that. You can't fake your way to confidence. You earn it. How do you earn it? You keep your word to yourself. You say you'll do something and you do it, even if it's small. even if no one else sees it. That's where self-trust is built. And self-trust is the seed of confidence. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You've trained your brain to believe you'll follow through. That belief, that identity, starts to shape everything. You stand taller, you speak louder, you take risks. You don't need guarantees, you are the guarantee. But the key is consistency. One bold action won't build lasting confidence. One workout, one good day, one moment of courage. It's not enough. Confidence is like a muscle. If you don't train it daily, it weakens. If you only take action when it's convenient, you're building the muscle of comfort, not courage. Real confidence comes from doing the reps when it's inconvenient, when you're tired, when you're afraid, when no one believes in you yet. You build confidence in the shadows, in the silence, in the lonely moments where you show up again and again for a vision only you can see. That's what separates the average from the unstoppable. The average person waits until they feel ready. The confident person takes action before they feel ready, and because of that, they grow into readiness. Action creates clarity. Action builds momentum. Action strengthens identity. You don't wait for confidence to show up. You summon it by moving forward, even when it's hard. Every difficult decision is a chance to build it. Choosing to wake up early instead of sleeping in builds it. Knowing your values is a chance to build it by moving forward. And action creates clarity. Action builds it. Choosing to speak up in the meeting when your voice is shaking builds it. Choosing to take the leap even when you're unsure of the outcome builds it. Each of these moments sends a message to your nervous system. I can do hard things. And the more often you send that signal, the louder it becomes. Until one day, that voice of self-doubt that once controlled you is replaced by a new voice, a stronger one. A voice that says, let's go, we were made for this. But here's the truth. If you consistently break promises to yourself, if you constantly choose the easy way out, you're not just losing opportunities, you're eroding your own identity. Your brain starts to associate yourself with inconsistency, with hesitation, with retreat. And that kills confidence. That's why you must guard your integrity with your own mind. You must become someone whose actions align with their words, no matter how small the task. Because confidence isn't in the volume of your voice, it's in the alignment of your life. It's not about pretending to be fearless, it's about being honest that fear exists and doing the thing anyway. That's where real power is. The people you admire, the ones who walk with presence, with certainty, they didn't get there by accident. They've fought battles you didn't see. They've overcome doubts you wouldn't believe. And the weapon they used wasn't perfection. It was consistency. Relentless, daily, uncomfortable consistency. Every time you do what's difficult instead of what's easy, you add a brick to your foundation. Every time you rise when you could have stayed down, you stack another layer. Over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. You walk differently. You decide faster. You become magnetic, not because of hype, but because you've earned the right to trust yourself. And once you learn to trust yourself, once you've proven to yourself that you won't back down in the face of difficulty, that's when you become the kind of person who moves through life with certainty. Not because it's easy, not because you know all the answers, but because you've built a reputation with yourself that you'll figure it out no matter what. Pain is not your enemy. It's not the thing to run from or suppress. It's not a signal to quit. It's a teacher, a guide, a message from life itself. Pain shows up to reveal something, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, trying to numb it, distract from it, cover it up with noise, with comfort, with short-term pleasure. But avoidance doesn't remove the pain. It only delays the lesson. And the longer you delay the lesson, the more it costs you. Pain is information. It tells you where the edge is. It shows you where growth is required. It shines a light on the parts of you that are ready to evolve. Whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, financial struggle, failure, heartbreak, every version of pain carries wisdom. But only if you listen. Only if you stop resisting it long enough to understand what it's trying to teach you. And the difference is, the mistake most people make is treating pain like a wall. They hit it and they turn back. But pain isn't a wall, it's a doorway. If you go through it, you come out different. Stronger, wiser, more focused, more resilient. Every breakthrough is born from some kind of pain. That moment when it was too heavy, too much, when you thought you couldn't take another step. Those are the moments that shape you. Because pain breaks down the weak parts of your identity, the illusions, the lies you've told yourself, the comfort you've been clinging to. And in its place, it gives you clarity. It forces you to decide who you really are, what you're really about, what you're willing to fight for. Without pain, there's no urgency, no pressure. And without pressure, there's no diamond. The people who rise, the ones who build legacies, who inspire nations, who break generational limits, they didn't do it in spite of pain. They did it because they faced it, they used it. They didn't let it define them, they let it refine them. They didn't ask, why is this happening to me? They asked, what is this trying to make me? That shift in mindset is everything. Because when you stop seeing pain as the enemy, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of life and start becoming the architect of your transformation. Pain also creates empathy. When you've suffered, when you've been at the bottom, you understand others differently. You connect deeper. You lead better. You don't just give advice, you feel people. And that connection becomes a superpower. It makes you more human, more grounded, more impactful. But you only get that gift if you go through it fully, without pretending it doesn't hurt, without running from the lessons inside it. There's a kind of pain that comes from discipline, from sacrifice, from choosing the hard thing over the easy way out. And then there's the pain of regret, the pain that comes from avoiding growth, from quitting on yourself, from letting fear lead. The first kind of pain sharpens you, the second kind haunts you. The difference is the mindset you bring into the experience. Pain is going to be part of life either way. The question is, are you going to let it build you or break you? You can't build strength without resistance. You can't build grit without adversity. You can't build faith without uncertainty. Pain gives you the reps. It gives you the pressure. It gives you the fire. Most people pray for strength but run from the very things that create it. They want courage but avoid every situation that could grow it. Pain is the bridge. It's not comfortable, but it's necessary. It's not pleasant, but it's productive. When you start to lean into pain, to breathe through it instead of escape it, you gain control. You stop flinching at life. You stop overreacting. You build a kind of calm that can't be faked, a kind of presence that's only born in the fire. Pain gives you depth. It humbles the ego. It clears the noise. It strips away everything that doesn't matter and leaves behind only what's real. That's why you can trust it. You may not enjoy it, but you can respect it. There's nothing weak about feeling pain. What matters is what you do with it. Do you use it as fuel, or do you let it cage you? Do you let it push you forward, or do you let it keep you down? The choice is always yours. Pain isn't the end of the road, it's the start of the journey. It's the invitation to rise. Not by avoiding what hurts, but by facing it fully and using it to become more than you were before. Do what is hard to shape an unbreakable identity. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. And the votes that matter most aren't cast when things are easy. They're cast in the tension, in the chaos, in the fatigue, in the moments when quitting is the simpler option. It's in those exact moments that your identity is being carved out, shaped not by your intentions, but by your behavior under pressure. Try and get into pressure, because who you are isn't defined by what you say you'll do. It's defined by what you actually do, especially when it's difficult. Most people talk about change like it's something that just happens. They say things like, I'm working on myself, or I want to be better. But change is not passive. Identity is not built through inspiration alone. It's built through repeated action in the face of resistance. If you do what's hard consistently, you start to believe something different about yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs motivation and start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined. You stop identifying as someone who tries and start identifying as someone who finishes. The human brain is always watching. It remembers the times you followed through. It also remembers the times you didn't. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. Every time you say just this once and take the easy way out, you reinforce the idea that you can't be trusted under pressure. But every time you do the hard thing, even when you didn't feel like it, even when it wasn't convenient, you cast a vote for the identity of a finisher, a fighter, a force. That's why doing what is hard matters so much. It's not about achievement, it's about alignment. It's about becoming someone whose actions reflect their values. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need circumstances to be perfect in order to show up. That kind of identity is built over time, but only through challenge. You don't find out who you are when life is comfortable. You find out who you are when the pressure's on, when the fear is loud, when the excuses are tempting. That's where identity is forged. Doing what is hard forces you to let go of the masks. It exposes the stories you've been telling yourself. Maybe you've said, I'm just not that disciplined, or I've never been good at following through, or I always lose momentum. Those stories aren't facts. They're just rehearsed patterns. And the only way to break a pattern is to interrupt it with behavior. You can't outthink a weak identity. You have to outwork it. The beauty of doing hard things is that it forces you to become someone new. You're not just going through the motions. You're sculpting a new version of yourself with every rep, every decision, every sacrifice. That's why the effort matters more than the outcome. Because outcomes are temporary, but identity is sticky. You might hit a goal and feel good for a moment, but who you became in the process, that's what sticks with you. That's what drives the next win. That's what creates momentum that can't be taken away. An unbreakable identity doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from walking straight into it and refusing to let it define you. It comes from showing up on the days you don't feel like it. From pushing one more step when your mind says stop. From keeping your standard high even when no one's watching. Every time you make that kind of decision, you're stacking proof. You're collecting evidence that you are not like the rest, that you don't quit at discomfort, that you are becoming someone who follows through regardless of how you feel. And that's the foundation for unstoppable momentum. Because once your identity shifts, your behavior follows automatically. You no longer need willpower to act in alignment. You act that way because it's who you are. When your mind sees you as someone who does what's hard, your actions start reflecting that. Standard without debate. And over time, it becomes automatic. Not because it's easier, but because it's yours. You've earned it. You've lived it. You've bled for it. No motivation can substitute for the power of an identity built through grit. It's the difference between chasing discipline and embodying it. Between hoping for change and becoming the change. between trying to act like someone who wins and being someone who simply doesn't know how to lose. When you commit to doing what is hard over and over again, that's what you build. You're no longer acting, you're becoming. And once you become, nothing can take that away. If you only do what's easy, your life will be hard. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Because doing what's easy feels good in the moment. It gives you relief, it gives you comfort, it gives you the illusion that everything is fine. But that short-term ease has a cost, and it always shows up later. It shows up in regret, it shows up in missed opportunities, it shows up in the slow decay of potential. Ease in the short term leads to struggle in the long term. That's the trade most people unconsciously make every single day. The hard path isn't popular, but it's the one that leads somewhere worth going. Easy choices pile up into a heavy life. They might feel light when you make them, skipping the workout, avoiding the hard conversation, hitting snooze, quitting halfway. But each one adds a brick of limitation, a brick of doubt, a brick of disconnection. Eventually, you're carrying a load you didn't even realize you were building. And it drags you down. It robs you of energy, of passion, of clarity. And the worst part is, you don't even know where it came from because you didn't see the cost in the moment you said yes to ease. But the opposite is also true. When you do what's hard, when you take the stairs instead of the elevator, when you face the resistance instead of avoiding it, you create freedom. Hard choices today lead to an easier life tomorrow. You build discipline, you build strength, you build skill, and over time, those hard things become your new normal. What used to feel impossible becomes routine. What used to scare you becomes familiar. What used to hold you back becomes fuel. Doing what's hard is not about self-punishment. It's about choosing the actions that force growth. It's about choosing becoming someone who doesn't flinch in the face of effort. When you condition yourself to lean into what's difficult, you build a life that can handle pressure. You build a life that's built to last. And that kind of life is rare because it requires consistency. It requires pushing when no one's clapping. It requires doing things most people would rather avoid. But that's what makes it powerful. Ease is tempting because it's immediate. It doesn't ask for much. It whispers, take the break, take the shortcut, do it later. It never yells, it's subtle. And that's what makes it dangerous. It builds a life of quiet frustration, of inner conflict, of feeling like you're meant for more, but never quite breaking through. And the reason is simple. You can't live a strong life on weak choices. You can't experience deep fulfillment while constantly avoiding discomfort. You can't become your best while doing only what's convenient. Most people are stuck not because they lack potential, but because they've trained themselves to prioritize comfort. They've made it a habit to negotiate with their goals, to wait until they feel like it, to do the bare minimum. And then they wonder why they feel lost, why they feel disconnected, why they keep hitting walls. The walls aren't there to stop them. The walls are made of the easy choices they've been making for years. And the only way to tear those walls down is to start doing what's hard, consistently, intentionally, relentlessly. Doing what's hard creates momentum. And momentum is everything. When you start stacking wins, even small ones, something shifts inside you. You start to trust yourself again. You start to act with more power, more certainty. That energy bleeds into every part of your life, your body, your relationships, your mission, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you cut corners in one area, you'll cut them in others, but if you raise your standard in one area, it elevates the rest. And it all starts with the willingness to do what's hard. Hard is where the growth is. It's where your next level lives. It's where your confidence is built, your vision is sharpened, your limits are shattered, Easy doesn't get you that. Easy keeps you the same. Easy is the enemy of excellence. And every time you choose ease, you reinforce a belief that you're not capable of more. But every time you choose hard, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses, that you're bigger than your fears, that you're ready for what you've been asking for. The truth is, life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. But only if you train for it. Only if you stop chasing shortcuts and start embracing the work. Because the reward isn't just in the result, it's in who you become along the way. The version of you that chooses the hard road is the version of you that's ready for more. That version is resilient. That version is clear. That version is unstoppable. And it all starts with a choice. Not a dramatic one-time decision, but a daily commitment to rise above what's easy and do what most won't.